Deanna Haas. A lot of you guys know me from just generally joining Sold.com and being on these webinars. I love the fact that Sold.com has really focused our business on, yes, providing seller leads and, hoping to grow your business through that avenue, but also investing in partnerships and webinars like this to help you guys not only better yourself with your Sold.com leads and what offerings that you guys can provide, but also just generally for your business. So that's what all of these webinars should have, that takeaway of how can I use this with Sold.com? And I'll do my best to try and tell you where, you can implement this information, but then also how can you utilize this in your everyday business with wherever you guys are working with clients. So I'm excited today to have one of our newest partners come on and talk about really ways that you guys can maximize the listings that you have, potentially position yourself to get more listings, but even for the existing listings that you have today, how can you make more money off of them and make your clients happier because you're able to sell them for a higher price. So today I have with me Tiffany Clem from HouseAmp and Ed Hamill from HouseAmp. And today will be talking about, again, ways for you guys to really look at opportunities to make more money on your listings through things like pre-listing upgrades and all the other opportunities that are there. So not to go into too much detail, Tiffany, I know Ed is having a couple technical difficulties. So right now he's just going to be he's there for just like the face ornament, right? Like he's the looks of the webinar. He's our Vanna White. And then Tiffany, I will let you take the stage. I'll bring up your slides, and chat is live for everybody. So if you have questions as Tiffany or Ed are speaking, please feel free to add those questions into chat. But I know that they're going to be going through a lot of information and everything is recorded. Tiffany, please.
Great. Thanks so much, Deanna. I appreciate that. So what is HouseAmp? HouseAmp is basically a program that allows sellers to get access to their home equity in order to improve their property prior to selling. So what does this mean for you? More listings, higher sell prices, use your pre-listing upgrades to win, right? So we want to win more listings and we want to help our sellers make more money on every listing that we sell. So just a little bit about me. As Deanna said, go ahead and throw questions in the chat as we go along. We will go ahead and do a Q&A at the end. Let us know what questions you have as we go through this information. So my name is Tiffany. I'm the VP of Partnerships here at HouseAmp, and I've got 20 plus years in lending, title, escrow, real estate. So have worked alongside agents my entire career, and I'm really excited about this program because I know it's going to help your business. I'm really passionate about our industry and helping agents win more listings and help their clients sell for more. And I'm originally from Michigan. Go Blue. And I live in Arizona. I've been here since 1998. Thanks, Rick. Agree. So thank you, Deanna. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to tell you guys all about what HouseAmp has to offer. So what is the home sale loan and how does it help you? So the home sale loan is, as I said, the ability for sellers to access their home equity. So it's kind of like a home equity line of credit, but it's a short-term option. So they can go in and they can basically borrow money against the home equity with no payments, no upfront costs. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But how is this going to help you in your business? So first of all, it's going to help you win the listing. When you go in to talk to your sellers about selling their property, the biggest thing that they want to know is how are you going to help them make more money, right? How are you going to help them sell the home for more? How are you going to help them sell quickly and with less hassle, right? So that's what the home sale loan allows you to do, is get them the money that they need for things like staging, upgrades, paint, carpet, all that good stuff, right? The second thing, it's going to help you save the deal. So if you have an inspection come back and they need a new roof and the seller doesn't have the money for it, rather than discounting the price of the property, go ahead and apply. You can apply all the way up until close of escrow and you can get that roof done. Ed's got a great story about that. I'm sure he'll share with you about how we actually pulled that one off. So being able to save the deal is really important as well. I mean, you work hard for your listings and you do a lot of work up front to get those listings on the market. The last thing that you want to do is have something fall out of escrow because the seller doesn't have the money to do the repairs. And then third, we want to offer flexibility. So not only does the money work for renovation, but they can also use it for a lot of other things. So staging, they can use it for paint, carpet, they can use it for landscaping. So we offer this flexibility. The other really cool part about our program is they can work with any service provider that they want to. So you're not locked into using our people or using people from Angie's List or any of those types of stipulations. You can work with anyone you want to. You refer your preferred providers, and as long as the seller approves their invoice, we pay them.
I think that's such a big call out. And sorry, Mike, the floating head that doesn't have my camera. But because Rick asked that question too, there are so many companies that require that you have to use their vendors, and then there's a lag time, and then their vendors aren't great. We've all kind of dealt with that with ourselves, with like homeowners insurance and things like that too. So I think that's like, I wanted to, pause for a second and talk about that, because that's such a huge call out that you can use your own contractors for this.
Yeah, it is. And it's really probably one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we've gotten from our competitors is that people don't want to work with providers that they don't know and trust, and you want to make sure that your seller's getting decent pricing as well. A lot of times when you go through other companies and you're forced to use their service providers, you're going to pay a premium for that. And therefore your seller is going to pay a high premium for that too. We don't require that they be licensed, bonded, insured. That's really up to you. You're the real estate expert. And if you trust them and they're able to submit an invoice to us, we will pay it. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm going to pause you for a second because I want to see
I'll show.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll show during my demonstration that how to invite your service pros as well.
Yeah. Perfect. And that's all I wanted to check, because Ed's back online.
Awesome. So basically let's go into the next item here. This is just a real story from one of the agents that we work with about a situation that they came across. Their seller had years of neglected maintenance. How many times have you gone into a listing presentation and they've lived there for 30 years and they haven't done any upgrades? Well, all of our research and all of our information that we're getting now is that buyers really want sale-ready homes. They want turnkey homes that they can move into, move their family into. They're probably at the top of their price range. They don't have a lot of money for repairs. So these homes need to be ready to go, right? So this is just another example. They listed the house for $650,000. 120 showings, 18 offers, sold it for $725,000, right? This is what we're looking for. We want to get our sellers the most money we can, and we want raving reviews so that we can get more referrals, right? That's how we build our business. So let's look at some real stories again, some real results, some before and afters. This is a project we did, new carpet, new flooring, and new paint. So I want to ask you, would you rather list the before or the after, right? So as an agent, the pre-renovation value was $700,000. That was the as-is price. The renovation cost $75,000. It was on the market for 6 days and it sold for $826,000 with a profit of $51,000. So these are the types of stories that you can share with your sellers and say, for renovation of $75,000, you're going to clear an extra $51,000. Right? That's exciting stuff for them. It's exciting stuff for us. So we love to share those stories. Here's another one. This is a project of, new interior paint, new flooring, new carpet, new cabinets, countertops, pre-renovation $1.2 million. They put $50,000 into it. It was on the market for 4 days, sold for $1.39, profit of $144,950. So again, you get to be the hero and you get to tell all of your sellers how much money you can make them. And I doubt they're going to question you about how much commission you're making if you're putting that much extra in their pocket. So it takes that out of the equation as well. So let's talk about the home sale loan, a little bit more detail for you guys. So it is fast. Most of our homeowners, when they go on to apply, within about 3 minutes, they'll know if they qualify. If it is a situation where it's something out of the ordinary and it has to go to manual underwriting, it's usually 2 to 3 business days. And then 3 business days after their approval, they have access to the funds after a 3-day right of rescission. It's very flexible. Again, they can apply anytime before closing. They can take care of their pre-listing or inspection items. There's no listing price caps. We're not going to tell you how much you have to sell the property for. If you need to make a price reduction, you don't have to come back to us and ask if you can. We trust you as a real estate professional to sell the property for what it's worth. Clients receive the invoices via the platform, pay providers and manage their spending. It's all completely digital. Again, Ed's going to walk you through a lot more of detail on that. You can use your own providers, get transparent pricing so you know exactly how much they're going to pay. And then it says quick access to funds. So as I said, 3 business days, they're going to have access to the funds and be able to pay the providers as soon as possible. All right. And then here's some typical use cases versus some creative use cases that we've seen. So painting, staging, new appliances, cleaning, HVAC repair, all that good stuff. And then we have seen people use this for moving materials, storage units, different things like that. I will take off solar panels. I usually remove that. Our marketing person didn't. We don't encourage them to try and pay off their solar panels or put new solar panels on. But just to give you an example, as long as the invoice can be provided to us, we should be able to pay it for them. All right. And then we do have branded marketing materials available for you. We have a listing presentation insert. I believe Deanna is going to have access to some of that for you during this presentation. The homeowner flyer, service provider flyer, and our equity estimator flyer. So here's an example of what that looks like with your information on there. And we will have the QR code available for you as well.
And that's in your handout section too, guys. If you guys are looking at your chat window, there's another little box that says handouts. You can go straight there and see the home loan or home sale loan flyer and download it directly from that. And then I'll send out a copy after too, but you can download it directly in here.
Great. Thanks, Deanna. Awesome. So now I'm going to turn things over to Ed. So my job here is to talk to you guys about why, right? Why HouseAmp? Why the home sale loan program? How is this going to help your business? Ed's going to talk to you a little bit more about the how, right? How does it work? What are the terms? All that good stuff. And then once he's done, we'll do a little Q&A. So Ed, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
All right. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're from. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. We had a slight voice problem earlier this morning, or sound problem. But as Tiffany mentioned, my name is Ed. I'm the Vice President of Client Services. So I deal with everything customer facing. And I've been with the company since 2022. And I've been in the real estate industry for 22 years. I am an agent. Right now, I'm not a selling agent, but I keep my license active, so I know what's going on in the industry. And I'm located in Florida. Moved down here with my family in 2003. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate a little bit, or talk a little bit about what the loan is, and then do a little demonstration for you. So this loan is an equity-based pay later loan. There's no out-of-pocket costs up front. The funding can be up to $250,000, but again, that's based on the equity of the home, not their credit score. There is a 1.99% origination fee with a minimum of $199. The reason we point that out is occasionally we'll have someone who says, oh, I really need to stage this house, but it's only going to cost $7,000. I can't use your program. Well, you can. They just have to sign for $10,000, pay that $199 minimum fee at closing, and just use the amount that they actually need. So from the bank standpoint, they minimize that $10,000 as the minimum. It's a 24-month loan with a 6-month draw period. And one of the questions that came up earlier was, well, what happens if the house doesn't sell? We've had that happen twice, where a homeowner got to the end of their repairs. And in one case, I took the phone call. The nice gentleman called and said in a very gruff voice, what happens when we're done with the upgrades and my spouse has decided it's the house she always wanted? Well, at that point, they do have 24 months. And when we explain the program to them, and the fact that the first 2 months is interest-free, no interest at all, and then after that, the next 10 months, there are no payments due. And in month 13, the homeowner starts to make interest-only payments. And by month 24, if the home still hasn't sold or he still has not convinced his spouse, at that point, they do need to roll it into another instrument, either with our lender or with someone else by going back through their bank or whatever the case may be. So it's very flexible, 24 months. Typically, right now, and Tiffany, correct me if I'm wrong, the last number I got was 4 months and 3 weeks from the day someone signs for their loan to the day they pay off their loan is our average right now. The minimum credit score is 650. Again, the dollar amount is not based on their credit score, but like any bank, our lenders do need to make sure that it's a safe lending choice. So right now, our minimum credit score is 650. We're working with some other lenders that are interested in going a little bit lower. But for those of you who work with folks with lower credit scores, typically lower credit scores come with higher fees. And so we're struggling with that. We're trying to figure out a nicer way to resolve that. And then, of course, there's a minimum 25% equity in the home required. There has to be equity in order to loan on that equity. So that's the program. And so LTVs, things like that, they have to have 25%, Lou. With Rick, the maximum length of the loan is 24 months. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and talk about how to use the product. And let me share my screen here. Forgive me, I have a few too many windows open. So there we go. Everyone can see my screen. And this is the login screen of where someone will come in to log into the platform. In this case, I'm going to go with Agent Andy. And Agent Andy is going to log in. And you'll see it's a very, very simple interface. There's not a whole lot to the way the system works because it's so easy. So one of the great things that we love to talk about is our equity estimator. The equity estimator is a tool for you to use for farming or to verify if a listing, for example, let's say a listing just came off the market and you saw the listing when it was listed by someone else and went, oh, you know what, that'd be a nice house for the Brady Bunch. Sorry, I live in a neighborhood of 1970s houses that they sell as vintage because of the shag carpeting. So in that case, I could come in here and I could say, well, before I reach out to that homeowner, let me look and see whether or not that house has equity. So I did a random house here that I pulled up on the internet. And all we need to do is go ahead and put in that address. Now, for those of you going, oh, great, another Zestimate. No. This program actually, this system, sorry about that. I timed myself out. This system uses Quantarium and First National and First American to be able to get that information. It actually costs our company $3.24 every time we use this program to do this. So it is real information. It doesn't cost you anything, but we love it because, we say that the more you use it, the better the system gets. So you go in here, you put that in, and what you'll see is it let me know that that home right now is the estimated value is $386,532. The estimated equity is $176,048. They get that information from First American, which is as close to accurate as possible. And the estimated accessible worst case scenario is $49,200. Now, the reason that that's an estimate is we don't know who the owner is. We don't know what their credit score is. We don't ask for any of that. So this is just to give you an idea, because as an agent, I know I never want to walk into a meeting and say, have I got a solution for you? And then that solution doesn't work. So this way, you can come in here and check first and go, okay, let me just look and see whether or not the system says that they have available equity in the home. Now, in this case, I've also already invited a homeowner, Haley Homeowner, and if I click on this, I can learn more about her property. Again, I can see that her house is worth about $317, 161 equity, could get about $40,000 to do some items around the house. And as of today, Haley has joined the platform, but she hasn't done her funding yet. We try our best to provide you as much detail as possible without breaking lending rules. So right now, our current lender went in a little bit conservative, and so you'll know whether or not they've applied for funding or whether or not they've been approved for funding, but that's it for now. Within the next couple of weeks, when the new version comes out, our upgraded screens, you'll actually be given a lot more detail, because we've convinced the bank or our lawyer convinced their lawyer that there's a lot more information that can be shared, so that you'll know, yes, this person went through and that they were denied. You may not know why they were denied. We'll give you a very generic explanation, but that way you'll know before you call your homeowner where they're at in the process. So the other thing, that once your homeowner does go through and create their loan, they'll also show up in the homeowner section. So here is Haley Homeowner, who has not started the application, but she created her account yet. And if she was working and had been approved and was working with Service Pros, I would be able to click on her name and it would open up and show me who she's working with, what projects she has, what invoices or estimates she's received, which ones she has paid, which ones she haven't paid or approved, which contracts are outstanding yet. So you'll always know where it stands. But the important thing to point out, you don't need to worry about any of that from a loan standpoint. The title company takes care of all that at closing automatically. So no one's going to be looking to you at closing to say, hey, did you get copies of all those invoices from the service providers or anything to that nature? All of that is done automatically for you and gets sent off to the title company when they start doing the closing. Now, I'm able to invite homeowners as well. I've got a couple different ways. You'll see here, I can see that earlier today I invited Henry the homeowner, and he has not accepted yet. And if he says to me, well, I didn't see an email, in my inbox, okay, let me go ahead and resend that. And if I hit the resend button, it'll resend Henry that link. But the other option I have is down here in the bottom right-hand corner. I can click invite homeowners, and I can put in their name, their email, and their cell phone number and hit send invite. Or my personal preference is copy to clipboard. And what this does is this copies a custom link specific to you, the agent, that you can use. Go out and create a QR code. Put it in your signature line. Put it on your flyers. Put it wherever you want. And then you'd be amazed. We have agents that will call us and say, hey, thank you. Someone picked up one of my flyers off the counter at the office and ended up creating an account, and I got notified that they created a home sale loan account, and I'd never even talked to them. So it was like a free lead for them. And they love that. That's, a great way to be able to do that. And then last but not least, the other thing you'll have access to is the Service Pros. You'll see here that P&P Construction is one of my Service Pros. I love Service Pro Sammy, and him and I are connected. One of the things that I can do with Sammy is I can say, you know what, I really trust Sammy. Sammy does a great job on these items right here that he has put down in his profile. So what I want to do is, I know that Haley needs some of this work done, and instead of having Haley go out and find someone or anything else, still up to Haley whether or not she wants to use them, but I can click this button and share, and now Haley's received an email as well as a notification in her platform that says, hey, a service pro has been shared with you by your agent. Here's their contact information if you want to reach out and ask for an estimate. So it's the way that you are able to help out that homeowner without having to get into the middle of everything. And again, you can also go in and add your service pros manually, or you can find a service pro, and your homeowner can do the exact same thing. I can go in and I can find a service pro, and I can now understand this is a training account. There's only 3 people in the training account. And so when I do this, you will find that, oh, only Sammy shows up. But I can go in, and if I typed in my zip code in the real program, I would get all these different service pros, or I could go down here and actually select and narrow them down. And I can say, okay, only show me people that do carpeting in this zip code, or only show me people that do general contracting, or whatever the case may be. So you have full control over that as well. You've got the ability to send the invites and get connected that way. The other thing that you have access to is our Help Center. And right up here in the right-hand corner, if you were to click on Help Center, a new window will open. And in that new window, there are articles to help you along the way if you've got problems, you or your agent. But there's also a live chat feature, and there is a option for you to create your own ticket or call the help desk. And the help desk is staffed 8 a.m. till 9 p.m., or sorry, 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. And you're able to call in and receive information and speak to a representative, a support representative, or ask to be connected to Tiffany or someone on Tiffany's team if you have more of a why question. How? There's the why. And you're able to go in and the beauty of that support number, it's not just for you. So you're experts in real estate. We don't expect you to be experts in HouseAmp or home sale loans. I can't tell you the number of times agents have called into the help desk and said, hi, this is Mike. It's a guy named Mike that does it the most. Hi, this is Mike. I'm at another listing appointment, and the homeowner has some questions. Here, talk to them. And he hands them the phone, and we answer all those questions for the homeowner. We make sure they have our phone number when they're done so that the homeowner can continue to call in and ask us questions. And same with your service pros. Our goal is for you to go out and get more listings, not to sit there and spend a ton of time explaining our program. Let us do that. And so you can utilize our teams to kind of be an extra salesperson on your team to help explain the program and get them started and get them set up. So with that, I think I've covered everything that I have. There's only 3 screens. So I'm going to go ahead and switch it back and kick it back over to Miss Tiffany.
Great. Thank you, Ed. I appreciate that. So you should see a pop-up to be able to create your profile. If you click on create free profile, it'll take you over to get signed up. And then we do have a really great offer for you right now where you can earn a $250 Home Depot gift card when your first homeowner finishes their project in Q1 of 2025. And the way that we actually track that is as soon as they approve their first invoice, we'll go ahead and send that gift card out to you. So there's also a QR code that just popped up. You can go ahead and scan that as well, and that'll take you to the sign up page. So create your account. And I definitely encourage everybody to get that account set up and start using that equity estimator, right? It's a great tool for you. It's a great way for you, like Ed said, if you're prospecting, if you drive by a FSBO, if you are, looking at expired listings, the equity estimator is a great way for you to have a reason to give them a call and talk to them about utilizing their equity in order to make those improvements. And you can close your deals faster and sell for more, right? Provide that value to your client.
Yeah, I was going to call, you kind of answered my question, Tiffany, because the question I was going to ask is, if I'm an agent who thinks this is great, but I don't yet have a client that I can utilize this for, like, what's the value of them still creating a free profile right now?
Yeah, definitely go. There's no cost for you to create an account. There's no cost for your client. There's no cost for your service pros to get signed up at houseamp.com, right? Or through the sold.com link. Go ahead and get your account set up, play around on the platform, play around with the equity estimator. And like I said, use it as a prospecting tool. Ed touched on that as well. You can really get out there and provide some information to your clients and give them a little bit different perspective. Another thing too, is as you're inviting your service pros, these are people that you have relationships with, right? They're really, really important to your business. You can provide them value by helping them sign up for this platform and help them get more business as well, right? Because there's no cost to them. We don't charge them for advertising, but they are searchable. They can go in and turn off their search capability if they don't want any more business. We have had people that say, nope, I'm too busy. But they can be searchable as well if they choose to be, and then they can actually get more business. So what a great value for you to be able to provide to those people who support your business every day.
Yeah, that's great.
If I can touch on that and expand on that a little bit. So the service pros are used to some of the other programs that are out there. We won't mention her name, but that are so expensive. They have to pay a monthly budget. And then if someone goes on that site and says, well, I'm looking for someone to put in new flooring. Great. They're going to pay for that lead. But unfortunately, so are 20 other service providers that get that lead. So you're competing for that lead. With HouseAmp, it's free to have an account for the service provider, for everyone. It's free to have an account. It's free for people to search and find them. And when a homeowner wants to work with a service pro, they type in that they're looking for someone who does flooring. It'll show them the service pros. They have to select one service pro at a time to send out a request for an estimate. So they can't click all the service pros and say send it. So they go in, they read the bio, get some information, and then decide, oh, I know this person, or I've heard of them, or I've seen their trucks. Let me reach out to this one. That costs the service pro nothing. The service pro then gets the estimate request. They send back their estimate, and the homeowner decides whether or not to accept it. Again, still costs nothing. If they move forward and the service provider does the work, there is a 3.49% charge on the invoice or to the service provider, like a credit card fee. And the funny thing about that, we have service pros who, when we explain to them that there is a service fee only for invoices, only for completed work, and they go, oh, I don't know, because they're thinking that other lady, and they go, that's it. And how much is it? And we say, well, it's 3.49. And we've had even large businesses go, really, my credit card company charges me 4.25. That's cheaper than my credit card company. And so they actually start driving people towards using, that's always the next question we get is, can I use you instead of, do I have to go through you or an agent? And we start to work with that service pro and get them more leads. Which again, if you're the agent that brought them to the platform, they're going to be thanking you to say, hey, I'm getting more business. Oh, by the way, a guy named John just asked me to redo his floors because he's thinking of selling. I told him you'd give him a call. So it's a lead source for you at the end as well. And that was, I'll leave you on this one. Tiffany touched on it a little bit earlier, and I love this. I got a phone call one day from an agent, all upset here in Sarasota, Florida. And she called up and they said, we have a closing scheduled for the end of next month. And being Florida, the mortgage company came back and said, they won't close unless we put in a new roof. I'm so afraid we're going to lose this because my listing expires at the same time. What do you suggest? I said, let's get the homeowner on the platform. Let's try it. They got the homeowner on the platform. They went and they found a service pro they wanted to replace their roof, Kingdom Roofing. They gave me the information. I called Kingdom Roofing to explain the program to them. Kingdom Roofing loved it. It was less expensive. They always add 5% to all their invoices to cover that. So they turned around. They were able to get the roof. It was shingles. It wasn't barrel tile, fortunately. They were able to get the shingles, replace the roof, get the house re-inspected by the lender, and never move the closing date. And the homeowner was ecstatic because the roof was $40,000. The contract or the homeowner or the buyer was saying, well, we may move forward with a cash offer, but you'd have to give us $100,000 off the price, right? We've all been there. We've all been where the person gets their inspection at the very end, and suddenly you thought you had a great deal at the right price, and they come in and they say, hey, there's a scratch in the floor, so we want $50,000 for all new flooring. Great thing is, until closing date, your homeowner can come on the platform, fill out an application, get approved, get that scratch fixed, go back and go, what scratch? It's fixed. They just saved themselves that $50,000. And the beauty of that one is, again, that one customer who just redid their roof, because they closed in 37 days, they paid no interest. They paid 1.99% origination fee. They paid a small, doc fee, transfer fee, the wonderful things that come along with loans. That's it. They didn't have to pay any interest because they closed within that 60-day period.
One question has come in, and there's a few questions in Q&A, and I know, Ed, you've been good at answering some of those Q&A questions. But I think a good thing that I had written down for myself is, how do agents bring this up? One person in chat said that they actually do have a client. They met with them on a seller on Monday. The house needs work from the bottom up, and they have no money to do the work. So right now, like, how do they talk about this? How do they bring it up? Like, do you have any ways and like scripts, best practices of, if I have a client that I know would be a good fit, like, how do I bring this up to them?
Yeah, I mean, we have some really great marketing materials, right? So you can go over, what is a home sale loan? What does it look like? Some detailed information about it. As Ed said, have them reach out to us. I a lot of times will walk people through setting up their accounts, applying for their loan. So use us as a resource, and then always use the equity estimator, right? Find out first if they would qualify. If they do have the equity available, we'll actually pull public record to see what loans are against the home, and be able to come up with a good estimate for what they'd be able to access. So yeah, I mean, we have some marketing materials. There's the flyer that's in there. We do have some scripting stuff that we can share with you as well. But try hard not to over pre-qualify people, because sometimes, a lot of agents will say, well, it just didn't sound like it would be a good fit for them, right? But feel free to send them over to us. We'll talk to them. We'll get more information from them. They can apply. It's a soft credit pull, so it shouldn't affect them in any way, to at least find out if they would qualify for the funds, and then how much they would be able to get. So yeah, just use it as a tool and a resource, but feel free to reach out to us for support.
So it sounds like, if I'm understanding you correctly, just to kind of completely dumb this down, is, because I think that's always going to be the hurdle, is, how do I bring this up? And I think your point of not over educating is important, because, myself, every agent on the phone, like, we don't work for HouseAmp, so we don't know all the proper ways to answer it. And sometimes when we over educate, especially on a product that, like, we don't fully know, we wind up giving wrong information. And so it sounds like, if I was in the agent's shoes, I would say something like, and so Yolene, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, it sounds like I would say something to the point of, hey, I actually might have an option that would allow for us to do some work with zero upfront costs. I want you to look into it, because I think I can definitely get you more money. I want to connect you with their team just so they can talk through and see if that's an option that would work for you. Does that sound like the best way to approach it?
Absolutely. Yep. And another thing too is, there's a lot of numbers that get thrown around. Even in this presentation, we've talked about 1.99 and 3.49 and, different things like that. So I'll have agents that call me and say, so it's 12 months, no interest. And I say, no, it's 12 months, no payments. it's 2 months, no interest, right? So rather than trying to get your head around all of the details, it's in comparison to our competitors, we are very low cost and we offer the most flexibility. So knowing that it's a great program and knowing that you can be confident in it, let us handle the details, honestly.
So if a seller does ask, because I would assume that that's a pretty common question and a lot of agents actually asked it, but what is the interest rate? Should the answer just be like, great question, let me connect you with their team and they can go through the specifics around like your specific use case?
Yes. And the interest rate is prime plus 6.
Okay.
Right. So that's another thing. It's like, okay, well then now I have to go look up the prime rate because it does change, plus 6. And people are saying, well, 13.5, that's kind of a lot. Well, it's 60 days, no interest. So it averages out to be really competitive. But sometimes that'll scare people away a little bit. And then they say, well, why don't I just go get a home equity line of credit? Then we can answer those questions, right? Home equity line of credit, usually the bank won't extend credit to you if you're selling your home, right? Because those are longer term. And so they're banking on you keeping it for a length of time and they can earn interest. So that would have a lower rate. So there's all those questions that'll come up that, more questions beget more questions. So yeah, we like to provide you with the flyer, gives you a little bit of a brief overview of some of the highlights, and then lean on us. We are here to support you and help you with this, to explain it, to help them get signed up, all those good things. That's what we do every day. And we're happy to be that resource for you.
Yeah, I think the key takeaway then for everybody is just give them enough information to where, hey, this might be a good option for you, but let me get you connected with them so they can give you more information, and call out the fact of like, hey, I don't work for HouseAmp, so I don't want to give you any incorrect info. I'd rather you hear it directly from them. And then if they're asking for interest rate, I wouldn't even give them any information about it. I would just say, hey, great question. There's lots of different scenarios. But at the end of the day, like she said, like in most cases, you can't do an equity line if you're looking to sell your home. And so the other comparative option would be a credit card, which credit card interest rates, even on a good day, are 24%. So like, I think that's where, again, don't get into too much of the weeds of answering the question. I think what's unique about HouseAmp is they're telling you, send your clients to them. Most of your partners, even sometimes your lenders, are like, don't just send your questions to me. Like, I'm not here to like be your assistant. HouseAmp is telling you, send me your clients, let us answer the questions. So utilize that, right? Don't put yourself in a position where you're trying to be the pro on this. Have somebody else fill them in, let them see if it's a good fit for them, and then they can kind of take it from there.
Before you move on, if I can jump in again, one of the things along those lines of how would I bring this up, one of the most successful campaigns I've seen an agent do was they went through their farm list and they sent out a text message to all their different people that said, hey, I know we talked about listing your home in the future. Before we list it, if there was one thing that you could improve that you think would help sell the home faster, what would that be? And then they wait 15 minutes and they send a follow-up one that said, oh, I forgot. And what if it didn't cost you anything out of pocket until the home sold? And they said their phone started ringing because people were saying, what are you talking about? How can I get new countertops? Or, oh Lord, that master bathroom, or the shag carpeting, the popcorn on the ceiling. People start thinking of things, and it's such a low key, non-aggressive sales technique because you're not saying, let's get your home sold and listed today or listed and sold today. You're asking a question. And that was probably one of the best ones. And the other one I've seen is folks that will look at FSBOs or other homes that have just come off the market that didn't sell and go in and say, hey, if you'd like, I can come in and kind of look around and maybe make some suggestions as to what we could do to improve your chances of selling. And it wouldn't cost you anything for me to come out and do that. And it may not cost you anything up front to get that work done. And I've seen a few agents use that hugely to their advantage.
I think that's a great, and maybe Ed, it's worth even putting that text in chat so that agents can copy that and utilize it. I think it's a great prospecting tool, because that's one of the things I wrote down is you kind of passively mentioned, both of you passively mentioned this, is I want to talk about like how they can use it with sold.com and the leads they already have today, but how can they use this to get themselves more business? And so you talked about like prospecting as well, like you're driving by a house, like what can you do, whether it be with flyers, whether it be knocking on doors, whether it be sending a text message out to everybody in your cell phone. I think like that would be good information to share of if I'm looking to use this as a prospecting tool, there's a neighborhood that I want to get more listings in. How can it, like, what would be my next step?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, I want to use this as a prospecting tool to get more listings in a specific area. Like, what would be my next step as an agent? And how could I use this to position myself as a prospect? Because I think one of you guys mentioned like being able to like, use the equity calculator to use this as a prospecting tool.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. You can look up any property, right? So you don't have to have a listing agreement. You don't have to have anything but the address. So go into the equity estimator. If you see a property that just expired, look at the pictures on MLS, see what could be done to improve it, look it up and see how much equity they have, and then reach out. Say, hey, I noticed that your listing just expired. I'm sure you're getting blown up right now, but I'm not just going to try and sell you. I'm going to try and tell you how I could sell your house for the price that you want. Right? We can go in and do some improvements. These are the things that I think, you could do. We also have some really great turnkey providers too that we work with. So if you're not really sure and you're like, well, I don't really want to, go into it and try and figure out what they need to do, we have relationships with different companies. You can go in and have somebody come out and they do all the work. They tell them what they need. They tell them what they think the return on the investment's going to be. They tell them how much it's going to cost, right? So there are companies out there that you can leverage as well. But I definitely think that keeping that in your mind when you're prospecting, how can I help this seller sell for more, right? How can I help them get this property sold quickly? And do they have the equity to be able to do that? And no payments, right? So you take that off the table. You don't have to worry about it until closing. A great way for you to really build that trust that this is what you need to do. I'm going to help you do it, and then leverage your service providers to do that as well. But yeah, there's a lot of really good opportunities with that equity estimator. Ed mentioned your farm, right? So you have somebody in your neighborhood, and you have a casual conversation about, they might be ready to sell in the next year. It's a great way to return to the conversation to say, hey, we talked about that. Maybe in the next year, you're getting ready to sell. What's holding you back? Is it that you want to do some renovations? Did you know that there's products out there that you could get the money to do that and pay for it at closing? That might speed up their timeline considerably if they're not thinking, well, I'm going to have to save 20 grand in order to be able to replace all the carpet or, do all the things necessary to sell, because a lot of times they won't communicate that with you. Right? They just have that in the back of their mind. So definitely keep that in mind as you're talking to people about selling in the future. It's a good way to move people off the fence too.
Yeah, that's great. Another question came in from Michael of what does HouseAmp do to verify the actual value of the property? Or do you guys just use the numbers that are in the estimator?
Yeah, we use an AVM.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, we get like a confidence score on that too, right? So it has to be a certain confidence score. But basically that's what we go by. And people will ask, well, can I argue that? And we'll have a conversation, but most of the time it's pretty accurate.
Got it. That was going to be my next question. If the seller had a recent appraisal done and they have, something that shows a totally different value, can they provide supporting documents?
Yeah. I mean, it's up to our bank.
Right.
And going back to, Ed mentioned this as well, we are going to be bringing on some additional banks. So when we talk about guidelines and different things like that, minimum credit scores, that will change in the very near future. So we're going to be expanding our offering. We're going to be able to approve more sellers. So again, all the more reason not to pre-qualify people, other than based on equity. That's the only thing we really want to be looking at.
And then Paula asked, do you guys lend in all states?
We are in 40 states.
Okay.
Yeah. So the big ones that we're not in.
And growing.
And growing, yes. Growing every day. Right now, and as I said, we are bringing on more lenders, so this could change very soon. Right now, we're not in Texas. A lot of regulatory stuff about digital signings in Texas. So we're still working on Texas. And then we do have a few other areas, but that I think, Ed, that's on our website. So we can go ahead and direct everybody to that as well. There's a map on our website that has all of our areas that we're active in.
Perfect. And I'm looking through any other questions. If we enter our client's information to the HouseAmp portal, is the list being sold? Is the homeowner going to start to get lots of calls from somebody like that you guys sell the information over to, or how private is the information that they're sending?
It's very private. We don't
at all. It is. Matter of fact, sorry to jump all over this one, Tiffany, but there are members of our staff who can't even see all the person's information. That's how serious we take it. We have to follow the same rules as major banks, and with our, SOC 2 compliances and all these different things. So one of the decisions that was made early on was the value to us is the agents, not the data. And so we're not a data aggregator. We're not a data seller. We will never sell that information. That is very clear in our terms and conditions. A service provider cannot look up a homeowner. They can find agents on the platform, but they can't look up homeowners on the platform. They can find an agent if they want to introduce themselves. But especially homeowner information is kept extremely private. No one can find that information. As a matter of fact, if you talk to a homeowner about the program and you have not shared your link with them and they create an account, you won't be notified. You won't be connected because that's their private information. And so it's very important that you make sure that you're using your QR code or your login or your invite URL so that you're able to see their information, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see it either.
Yeah, that's
one of the reasons that I'm very proud of it. I walked away from a very cushy corporate job at Realogy, and I guess not anywhere. And that because of the fact that the morals and ethics of the company, the 650 credit score was one that, yes, we're reevaluating it. But the original reason for the 650 credit score was the owner said to me one day, the founders of the company said to me one day, I don't want to be responsible for someone that's already dug a hole and they're trying to sell their house and we just pile on by digging them deeper. I want to make sure that they're credit worthy. That was the only reason we initially made that 650, was he said he would feel guilty if you had that person that was coming close to foreclosure and was hoping that we would save them from foreclosure. He doesn't want that savior complex. That is one other thing. Right now, we're working with some other banks, but today, our lenders do not accept flips. So the homeowner has to have owned the home for 2 years. It has to be a single family home that's not in a trust or an LLC, and it can't be in foreclosure or bankruptcy.
Yeah, that's a good call out for people if you're whatever use case that you're looking for. And then another question came in from Dorian of, are you guys able to loan up to the full amount of the equity? So are you able to lend up to 100% LTV, or what is that number? Or does it depend?
No, we actually, they need to have at least 25% equity, and we'll lend them 50% of that.
Okay.
So up to 250,000.
Okay.
That's the limit. So yeah, we will lend up to 50% of the available. They don't have to use all of that, and they'll only pay origination and interest on the amount that they do use.
Got it. And then remind me, the note, if I remember correctly, you said 60 days, no interest?
Correct.
Perfect. Okay. So that's a great call out for a lot of different people. Because I mean, in most cases, depending upon where you live, the home's going to sell within that time. They'll have money and, they can pay everything off. Sylvia asked the question, if the seller has a contingency to buy upon sale, does that affect anything?
No, we don't even look at the contract. So okay. We're not involved in that. We're basically, again, we're just looking at the seller and their equity, and that's it.
Perfect.
But also from, sometimes I know that question also sometimes applies to what does it do to their credit. this is viewed as a HELOC to the credit companies. And so typically mortgage companies, anytime you take out credit, it dings you a little bit. Well, I'm not going to candy coat that. We all know that. But unlike a new credit card or unlike a new car or something like that, this is viewed as a loan against the property that you're selling. So we have been told by the mortgage industry and just experience over the last 4 years that the mortgage companies look at this the same way they look at your primary mortgage or your second mortgage, and it doesn't impact your ability to get a new mortgage because they know that it's going to get paid off automatically through the deed of trust when the first home sells.
Great.
That's great.
We're very transparent. We'll answer just about any question.
No, it's great. Yeah, because I mean, you've answered everybody's. I was going to say we're actually caught up on all the Q&A that's in here, so I haven't seen anything else new. Actually, it says Helen asked, "Can you make payments as you go and not just at closing?"
We don't have that ability right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now it's paid at closing, or after 12 months, you would have interest-only payments.
Perfect. And then Cheryl asked, "Can the home be in a trust?"
At this time, no, but we are working on that with some of our new lenders that we're bringing on. So I'm being told 30 to 60 days. Ed, I don't know what you've been told, but I'm being told 30 to 60 days. We should have some additional options for things like trusts and LLCs because there's some additional documentation that's got to be done and some additional signing.
Perfect. And I'm going to share in the chat again to create your free profiles. And for those of you guys who missed it, even if you don't have a client yet right now, it's still great to have your free profile. You can invite any of your contractors that you guys may utilize so that you guys can start to, get them in here. It's a great talk track with them. Hopefully have them start to refer you business as you're sending them more clients. But then you also get access to all the marketing tools. So all those marketing tools will be within your profile. You can download everything. You can put your custom QR codes. You can put your custom branding on all of those. And then you have that equity calculator. So that equity calculator will allow for you guys to pull that up at your listing presentations, whether it be from clients you're speaking to from sold.com, prospecting that you guys are doing, knocking on people's doors. All of that information will be within your free profiles.
Great. Yeah, we look forward to working with everyone. Please feel free to leverage us. We're here to help.
And if people have questions that are, because I know some people have, a lot more questions, what would be their next step if once they create their free profile? Is there a section in there of contact us, or where would we direct them?
Yep, there's a contact us. I just put the support phone and email up and my contact information back up on the slide. And then if you go to the contact, I think Ed said there's a chat. Do we have a chat feature on there? We do, don't we, Ed?
We do.
There he is.
My favorite. I love that.
Yeah, so the chat feature is great because you can jump on there, ask a quick question, get support. The email addresses, feel free to email us and say, hey, can you reach out to this client, answer questions? We're here for whatever you need.
And did you say that you do work in some areas of Texas, or you're not in any area of Texas?
Not yet.
Okay, got it. So one person was sad that Texas is not able to use this because this would be a good option for them. So hopefully it's a coming soon area because I know it's a big territory.
It's number one.
Very, very soon. But I didn't say that. We got to cut that part out of the.
Cut it out of the recording.
Why I'm not allowed to talk.
No, we are working on it. It's top priority.
Since we do have people that are in Texas, should they email you? Because I did put your email in there. So that would be the next step. So if you're on the call, email Tiffany at HouseAmp.com. Let her know that you're in Texas and that you're interested in this. So that you can at least be one of the first people to know when they are available in Texas.
Yep. We're gathering a list. So please do let me know.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. This is recorded, everybody. So this will be sent out to everybody who registered and is on the call. Also within your sold.com portals, we have an events tab. You can go back and look for any future webinars that we are hosting with many of our guest speakers, as well as look at past recordings as well. But Tiffany, Ed, thank you guys so much for being on. I think this is a really great option. I think and I think even if the questions that you guys reach out to with Tiffany and Ed are, how do I approach this? Figure out the ways to talk about this more, because I think that's probably the reason that most agents don't utilize it is just because they don't know what to say. And I don't think you have to say a lot. I think it's just, I might have an option that would allow for you guys to make a little bit more money on this by doing a few repairs. Let me connect you with my partner. And I think as long as you can get that talk track down, they will take over the rest. And it'll position you guys just to make a lot more money, hopefully get a lot more listings. And then on the backside through Q1, get a $250 Home Depot gift card when your first homeowner finishes their project. So that's just a little added incentive in there too. But thank you, everybody. Again, if we didn't answer your question, again, use those contact information emails that they shared. But I appreciate your time, Tiffany and Ed.
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks,
My
guys.
pleasure.
Talk to you guys soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.